Hi, 3 and 4-year-old leaders. We are preparing for February 3rd. We are almost done with our series, God Can Do Anything. But before we can finish this up, we need to continue the story of Moses. And this week it gets real interesting talking about the plagues. We want to remember where we've come from, that we started at the beginning. We saw Noah. We've done Abraham and Abraham's family, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Joseph helped prepare us to help us know that there was still somebody coming that was going to help them get out of Egypt. And I would expect that people in this time we're probably thinking that could be Jesus, that it would be Jesus that would help deliver them out of Egypt. Of course, they didn't know that God's plan was a lot longer than that, to help more people know his truths. So you have your Duck, Duck, Goose game. I hope your kids are having fun with that. I know I love watching their big eyes get all excited as they're learning to play games and interact with each other. Then, during your small group time, you are going to create something called swarm pictures. You have paper in your bags, and I gave you markers. And I gave you markers on purpose because this activity is a whole lot easier to do with markers. I know little kids and markers can be really crazy, but let them do this one. It'll be okay. We can wipe down the tables after they're all done. They're washable markers. My marker isn't, but their markers will be. And what they're going to do is they're going to take their marker and just dot it all over their paper to make it look like a swarm of insects. Now remember, part of our story today, there was a swarm of insects. There were swarms of flies. There were swarms of grasshoppers. There were swarms of frogs. Trying to remember, the animals were killed, there was dark, there was the rivers being turned to red. Did I miss an animal? Flies, grasshoppers, there were the sores, there was the hailstorm, and then there was the Passover. And the Passover was to help prepare us to know that not only was Jesus going to be the person who God was meaning for us to, that would help us and build that relationship with him again, he was going to be the sacrificial lamb. And so the Passover is one of those stories that help us see God preparing people's hearts to understand that Jesus was not only going to be king and savior, but he was going to need to be sacrificed like the lamb. So that'll be a part of the story. With your swarm picture, God sent swarms of insects to the Egyptian people as a punishment because the king would not let the Israelites go. God kept his people safe from the last plague and rescued his people. Many years later, God's son Jesus took the punishment for sin when he died on the cross. Everyone who believes in Jesus is kept safe from the punishment of sin. Might be a good time to introduce that to your kids, that all of these bad things can happen, but God's plan will happen even though there are bad things happening. And we can believe in Jesus in good times, and we can believe in Jesus in bad times, and know that he came to rescue and save us from the sins that keep us away from God. So your memory verse is, but I have been the Lord your God ever since you came out of Egypt, like you're riding a horse. You shall acknowledge no God but me, no Savior except me, Hosea 13:4. And then you can pray and dismiss your kiddos. You have in your packet also some pictures that look like this so that you can help the kids see what a swarm might look like. Maybe you can find some on your phone and share that with them as well. It's possible that this story will bring up some questions from your kiddos. You don't have to sit on it for terribly long if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable in that. Also know that it doesn't hurt for us to know that there's some bad things that happen. There just are. There are going to be bad things that happen in their lives. And we can trust and know that God is making a plan and that He needed some of these bad things to happen so that people's hearts could be turned toward Jesus and Jesus' arrival. Thank you for leading. Thank you for building relationships that build disciples.